Was there a Roman expulsion of the Jews? Re-examining the post-temple historical record. The argument that there was no expulsion of the Jewish people after the destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans is based on several points. The biblical sources do not mention any Roman mass deportation or exile of the Jewish people after the destruction of the Second Temple, unlike the Assyrian captivity of the northern kingdom of Israel and the Babylonian captivity of Judah, both of which are described in detail in the Hebrew Bible. Many Jews continued to live in Judea and other parts of Palestine under Roman rule, as evidenced by archaeological finds, literary sources, and rabbinic traditions. Some of these Jews participated in later revolts against the Romans, such as the Bar Kokhba revolt, 132 to 135 CE, which resulted in further devastation and repression. The archaeological evidence does not support the idea of a large-scale expulsion or depopulation of Judea by the Romans. On the contrary, many Jewish settlements continued to exist and flourish in the region after 70 CE, as attested by coins, inscriptions, pottery, and other artifacts. Some of these settlements were even fortified and rebelled against the Romans again in the Bar Kokhba revolt of 132 to 135 CE, which shows that there was still a significant Jewish presence and resistance in Judea. The historical evidence indicates that many Jews remained in Judea under Roman rule, either as farmers, artisans, merchants, or soldiers. Some of them even attained high positions in the Roman administration, such as Tiberius Julius Alexander, who was the governor of Egypt and a close friend of Titus, the destroyer of Jerusalem. During the later Roman and Byzantine periods, however, the religious landscape of the Holy Land changed significantly, as Christianity became increasingly dominant within the empire, especially after the 4th century CE. Many inhabitants of the region, including some people of Jewish background and related local populations, gradually adopted Christianity. Conversion occurred through a variety of social, economic, political, and religious processes, though the scale and extent remain debated among historians. Following the Muslim conquest of the Holy Land in the 7th century CE, another major transformation took place. Over subsequent centuries, Islam spread gradually throughout the region. Some local populations, including some with Jewish and Christian ancestry, eventually converted to Islam through complex processes involving social integration, taxation structures, intermarriage, cultural interaction, and changing political realities. Conversion was generally a gradual process extending across generations rather than a single sudden event. Therefore, based on these points, some scholars argue that there was no expulsion of the Jewish people after the destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans, but rather a continuation and transformation of Jewish life in Judea and elsewhere. In this context, some Israeli scholars, including Shlomo Sand, have argued that some Palestinian fellahin, or rural farming communities, may be descendants of ancient local populations of the land, including biblical Jews who remained in Palestine rather than being exiled. According to this view, over many centuries, some of these communities gradually adopted Christianity and later Islam, while continuing to live on the same land. This interpretation challenges the simple idea that the ancient Jewish population disappeared entirely from the region after the Roman destruction of Jerusalem.